Hi readers, Lee here. Welcome back to my channel, Lila Wanders and Reads, and welcome to my November reading recap. Now, normally I would have had this prepared for you last week, but the end of the month just snuck up on me, even though I knew Thanksgiving is at the end of the month, etc., etc., and I was sitting there on December 1st, scrolling through my whatever on my phone, and my memories showed me my last year's November reading recap, and I was like, oh crap, I've totally spaced out on doing this video. Anywho, I am here today with a Liar's Gin and Tonic, no alcohol. And let's talk November reading. I was still struggling in November. There are 2 audiobooks in this month, and a lot of really disappointing reads. But the first read was not disappointing. That was Something Lost, Something Gained, Reflections on Life, Love, and Liberty by Hillary Rodham Clinton. I listened to this, and I highly recommend that. Had I read it, I probably would have gotten bogged down in some of the politics of it. But reading it, listening to her talk about what she did and her team did to try to get women out of Afghanistan, that was fabulous. Listening to her talk about the loss of her mother and how she's not ready to let go, that was really just heartbreaking. Highly recommend it. It's definitely worth a listen, and I do. She narrates it, so I definitely recommend it. Next up was a book that I really wish that I had read at a different time, because I was still coming off the struggle. No, I wasn't even coming off the struggle bus. I was fully seated on the struggle bus when I read The Most by Jessica Anthony, and I really liked this book. I just didn't enjoy it when I read it, not because of the book. In spite of my struggles, I loved this. There was a part at the end, quick glimpse. Oh my god, I love this part. I feel like if I had been in a better place, I don't want to jinx it, but I think I'm closer right now to that I would have really loved this. As it is, I liked it a lot. And again, I think if I hadn't been struggling, I would have loved it. This would be in one of my top books of the year, but because of where I was mentally, emotionally, and physically, I just couldn't focus the way I needed to really appreciate this. This is a book I'm gonna keep, and I might revisit it when I'm in a better place. I think I'm getting there. I've been saying that for a long time, but I do recommend this. I think that you'll like it if you're like me. Next up is one that I struggled on, and I wanted it to be more than it was. I am trying to be generous because I think that I would have had a lot better time with most of these books if I'd been in a better place. The Most is one. There are a couple here that I know I would not have liked any better. The Lost Village by Camilla Sten is not one. I think I would have liked it a little bit better. And you can see at the beginning, I've got a lot of tabs in here. This is really more kind of clues where I was trying to figure out what's going on. But then towards the end, again, I'm just struggling to concentrate. This is documentary film book. It's based, it's not a lot of footage. It's not any found footage. They are going into this town to film this documentary. But there are some, I don't know, let's call them plot holes that I just questioned. Originally, I'd done a whole nother video on this where I read all the blurbs, but it cut me off the last 3 books, so I had to can that video. So anyway, I'm not reading blurbs on this. I'm just going to respond to the books. And I really wanted to like this book. And I think I would have liked this better. Not as much as The Most. I wouldn't have liked it the most. But I think I would have liked this better if I wasn't struggling. A book that I did like, but was not good, was Janet Dailey's The Sound of Sleighbells. I say Janet Dailey in air quotes because Janet Dailey is dead, and she was dead when this was written and published. Her family has a ghostwriter. That's fine, perfectly fine. But they just sell it like it's Janet Dailey writing, and I don't understand this. Anywho, this was terrible. The characters were thin. They were stereotypes. This is called The Sound of Sleighbells. That's just, I don't know the right word for it. The whole sleigh thing. Christmas was like a prop in here. Like, it was secondary to the, not even developing romance. Ugh. These characters, so thin, stereotypical. The writing was very simple. So, I'll talk more about that. This was just really bad, but this was so fun. This was so bad it was fun. And that after I realized it was ghost written, I just really let go and had a good time with it. I would not ever read anything else by her again, except to make fun of it. And I don't want my channel to be about that. If I stumble across something and it's this bad, no holds barred. But I don't want to make my channel about mocking badly written romances that are making Janet Dailey's estate a lot of money. Anywho, we'll talk more about Janet Dailey in a moment. Next up was Julia McKay's The Holiday Honeymoon Switch. I was trying to read some light stuff and really trying to get a Christmas vibe going on, but again, I think I would have liked this better had I not been struggling like I was. As it was, I think I gave it 2.5 stars, rounded up to 3, because I liked half of the book. I liked the winter half, not the Hawaii half. Cute premise, a girl gets ditched at the night before her wedding. She and her best friend switch places on honeymoon/vacation. And, of course, they both find new loves. It's a little too insta-lovey for me on the Hawaii side. On the winter side, I loved everything about that. There's this whole bitch scene where the main male love interest sister is, like, coming for the female main character, and I love that. But, again, this, I think I would have liked better and probably given it 3 stars straight if I just had been in a better place, but I wasn't. So, now we are back to Janet Dailey. Again, I would have probably stuck with this a lot more, but I was just over a lot of things. I was over struggling on reading, and I wasn't going to fight anymore to try to get through this. I read Janet Dailey's Illusions. When I picked up The Sound of Sleighbells, I brought it back home and I thought, Janet Dailey, is she the one? And yes, she was. Janet Dailey, you can't see this probably, is the author of Illusions, also author of the New York Times best-selling author of Notorious. Notorious, a book that Janet Dailey notoriously completed by plagiarizing Nora Roberts. Yes, she did. So she gets away, well, she doesn't get away with it. She gets caught. She issues some bullshit apology saying, oh, so-and-so was sick and her, dog puked on the carpet or some kind of crap and she was, under therapy or stress or what the fuck ever. Anywho, she gets a new book contract in like 2000. Okay, nice. So I have a copy of Notorious to read, but I couldn't after this. I did not finish this. I thought that the writing in Sleighbells was bad. The writing in this is no better. Stereotypical characters. This female main character falls in love/lust with every guy she sees. And I am not a prude, but come the fuck on, man. Oh, it was just too much. I did a whole review on it somewhere. I can't talk about it anymore. It was bad. I DNF'd it and skipped to the end and didn't care. At some point in the future, I will go back and read Notorious and compare it to the Nora Roberts book she plagiarized from. And I had intended to do that in November, but I was just still struggling so much with reading and with... I've said it before. There was the election that was distracting, and then also I got my dental work finished in late October, so I've decided for the time being I'm not going to smoke, and that has been a process, and it's really difficult. It's getting better, but it has been really difficult to concentrate and settle when I'm really thinking about how much I want to smoke. And even today, like, I would love it right fucking now. Anywho, speaking of audiobooks, which I wasn't, Ghost Dogs on Killers and Kin by Andre Dubus III. One of you guys recommended this to me, and I had not read any of his work before. When I started this, I guess I was smoking crack or something, or not smoking anything. Maybe that was the problem. And I thought this was a book of short stories. It's not. It's really essays about his life, although some of them seem like they're short stories. I really loved this, and the more I think about it now, the more I appreciate it. Even though this was audiobook, I still struggled with this too. I just couldn't concentrate. And sometimes Andre writes so, like, he is so open about who he is and about his, faults, that sometimes I didn't like him. And he would just write through it until I did like him. Ghost Dogs is this story that really I kind of said, yeah, I like you. Anywho, I do recommend this. I'm glad for the recommendation. So guys and gals, if you have any recommendations, please shoot them my way. If they are available to me, I will pick them up and give them a shot. Not everything works for everybody, but I will definitely... I'll try anything once. The next book I had picked up a while back because it gives off a Hitchcock vibe. Now, right before I started this, I Googled the author. A.J. Finn is a pen name. His real name is something that I've forgotten already. And Stephen King loved this book. Joe Hill loved this book. Joe Hill does an interview with the author at the end. But apparently the author, whatever his real name is kind of a liar, at least according to one New Yorker magazine article. I didn't do a deeper dive, but it really bothered me, and I made me wonder, do I Google authors or do I not Google authors? And I still am on the fence about that. I struggled through the main part of this book, mainly because the narrator, Anna, I've said this time and again, I love a fucked up narrator. I love a narrator who's an alcoholic or a drug addict or just has so many flaws and falls and gets back up every time, broken and bleeding, but still. But Anna doesn't get back up until the very end, and at the very end, that's when I started liking her. Also, when the twist happens, I was like, hell yeah, I was all in on that time. But it's not until Anna starts fighting for herself, despite the bad things that have happened to her, that I really liked her, and that really just hit home for me as well, because I think we've all had a bit of a wallow, sometimes even when it's deservedly so. What happened to Anna was worthy of a wallow, but at some point you have to get back up. Me too. So, anywho, again, this is another one I think I would have liked a lot better. A, had I not Googled the author, and B, had I just been in a better place, because this gave off huge Hitchcock vibes. It did make me watch, it was free on like Tubi or something like that. Shadow of a Doubt, Hitchcock movie, loved it. And then he uses a quote in here, and that's when I was like, oh shit, I don't know what the hell's going on. I've been just as blind as Anna. So, I do recommend this. I wish I had read it at a different time because I think I would have really enjoyed it a lot better. Okay. When it comes to classics, and I do intend to read some classics throughout 2025 and reread, but I think it's best to do that on audio. Again, Jane Eyre was me struggling. Plus, it's a really long book. The book is well written. The language is easy. But one of the problems that I have with the women artists of this era and just around maybe a little bit before Bronte and Charlotte and her sister and Jane Austen is the men characters. The type of men that these women in their stories are exposed to are just really annoying to me. For example, and I've said this in a couple of my videos, Rochester. Rochester talks about himself all the damn time, and I just got tired of it. So there's a note right there. I've talked about that before. But I noped out and skipped to the end. Also, I was reading with like some BBC cheat notes, so I didn't miss anything. But I noped out when we find out about the mad woman in the attic, and he's like, well, trying to convince Jane to marry him anyway, even though his wife is still alive. And it's all about him. It is all about Rochester. And it's just exhausting. So, I think I would have gotten along with it better if I'd listened to it on audio with a great narrator or full cast, and if I hadn't been struggling, and if there wasn't Rochester in the book. I had the same thing with Heathcliff in one of the, in Wuthering Heights. I've got that on tap to do a reread of. I'm going to re-listen because Heathcliff's annoying as fuck too. That's just not my type of guy. Okay. But, speaking of Jane Austen and that era, next up I read Puck and Prejudice by Leah Riley. This is a little spicy at some points. It kind of took me by surprise because it starts off not really spicy, cute, and two things I liked about it. One, the main character is told from two perspectives, both the male and the female character perspectives. But it's the man who goes back in time, and then he calls her Pocket Rocket. He's so funny. I really liked him. Leah Riley did an excellent job of creating his character. She's good too, but I really, really liked this guy. As opposed to anybody in Pride and Prejudice or Rochester over here. This guy I could get behind. So, this is kind of a hockey romance. He's a hockey player. He has a serious medical condition, which I appreciated reading about that. And then in the end, there's a compromise. And I really like that. This was fresh. This was new. I did struggle a bit. Again, I was struggling through November. I think I'm out of that now. I think any criticism now that I have is going to be more valid and less me being irritated because I'm trying to kick a habit that I've had for a long, long time. Okay. Speaking of being annoyed, not because I was trying to kick a habit. This next book, I started out, and when I read it, I made a little short video and said, if I don't get into this, it is totally me. It was not totally me. That was Nora Roberts' The Mirror. It took me this far to realize it was not totally me. But this book dragged and dragged for me. And I thought, wow, something's really wrong with me. I'm never going to get my reading mojo back. But then I get to chapter 25. Maine bloomed in May. To add their part, Sonia and Cleo decided to hit the garden center, and I thought, what? No, please no. Nora Roberts, I am ride or die Nora Roberts. I will buy everything she publishes from now until she quits publishing. That's how long I've been with her all my life. I will stay there. She does great world building, but in this book there was too much world building and not enough action. And when I saw that they were going to the garden center, I thought, fuck no. But yeah, I was right. For the next 6 to 7 pages, it's all about Sonia and Cleo gardening. And I know that Nora likes to garden. She puts it up on her blog. It's public knowledge. And I just don't care. I don't mind reading about it on the blog. I don't want to read about it in a book where something's supposed to happen. The mirror does show up a few times, but she doesn't actually do anything. Sonia, the main character, she goes to the mirror, she watches shit. She's supposed to be getting these rings back. She's not gotten a ring back. It's just really, really disappointing to me. Like I said, I'm ride or die Nora Roberts. I will buy the 3rd book. When I started this, I did not read the 1st book again. I thought I was just struggling too much. And I thought midway, I was like, well, when the 3rd book comes out, I'll go back and reread the 1st and the 2nd. I will not. I will not. I may reread some of the 1st, because that was actually pretty interesting. Stuff happened, but not the mirror. And it seemed that was a turning point. Because even though the next book was a little bit of a slower read, it was a slower read because it was published in the 1954, copyright 1954. That is William March's The Bad Seed. I did Google him before I read this, but I absolutely loved The Bad Seed. I talk a lot more about this in my weekend books in more detail, and I won't here because I'm going to run out of time. But I really, really appreciated this. I actually have to go write some comments about it on the online book club I'm a part of. But I can't wait to hear what other people think about this book. This was one thing that stuck out to me when I Googled him was that William March was a decorated World War I hero. And he suffered the rest of his life from post-traumatic stress. And I wonder how much of that is in here as well. I think there's a good bit. And I have also ordered another book he wrote called Company K, which is about his time in the service. So look forward to reading that. The final book of November that I read was Stephen King's Elevation. This was just a couple hundred pages. I read this because November 25th was the 1-year anniversary of my first YouTube video. And this was a book that I talked about in my first video, which was a book haul. And I had only read 2 of the books in that book haul, and there was like 14 or 16. So I was like, I'll grab one, I'll grab this, because I knew I had been struggling. It was very short, 145, 46 pages. A lot of people on Goodreads shit-talked this because he does have some politics in here. I noticed it at the very beginning. I didn't think that it was as glaring throughout the rest of the story as it is in some of his other books. I do agree with Mother Horror's claim that Stephen King, when he talks politics in his books, he has no finesse. He doesn't. He's got such a way with words in so many other levels. I think it gets personal with him, and he can't make it as smooth as some of his other writing. However, I didn't have a problem with it in Elevation. It was, to me, at the very beginning, and then aside from that, it was just a real sweet story that I really didn't get. I didn't understand where it was going, but I think that A, could be because it was a short little novella, B, because I was struggling, and C, because I was struggling still, and I just missed some things on it. Anywho, that is it for me. That is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 books in November. I can't believe it was that many. It's 11 if you count, if you don't count the audiobooks, and a lot of these books were shorter than what I usually read. So, again, I started out December. I've got 2 books under my belt. I'm working on a 200-pager right now, which is a booker book, going to take a little bit longer. And then I'm not sure where I'm going to go. I've already hit 200 books for the year by the first week of December. So I may take my time. I may revisit some books that I haven't read in decades. We'll see. I'd love to hear what your plans are for the rest of the year. What are your plans for 2025? If you're anything like me, whatever your plans are, they'll be blown away by after the first quarter. But that's part of the process and the journey, isn't it? Like, when you read, for me, I come up with a plan. I'm like, oh, I'm going to read X, Y, and Z, and I'm going to do this, this, and this. And then a week will go by, and maybe it's ADHD. I'll be like, oh, squirrel, now I want to do this. But sometimes it's also just growth and change and part of the reading journey. Anywho, thank you for sticking with me on this journey. I appreciate having you. If you've made it to the end, thank you for watching. I'll be back later. And I say later. I'm going to post this on a Tuesday. I should be back Wednesday with something that I don't even know about yet. Anywho, happy reading!